Hello, this is Clive de Carl welcoming you to another edition of the Health Revolution. And I'm very pleased to say I'm joined once again by Holly Page, who is going to talk to us about electromagnetic frequencies and an Australian device called the GeoCleanse. So welcome, Holly.
Hi, Clive. Really nice to be back.
Thank you. So, yes, the GeoCleanse. Now, this sounds a really interesting thing. Clearly, EMFs are a big problem in everybody's lives, even if they're not aware of it. I read a statistic that 30% of people are affected by electromagnetic frequencies, and 3%, I'm told, are having serious illnesses, which the doctors can't trace, but actually are electromagnetic frequencies, everything from their plasma television to their mobile phone.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, when you say 30%, do you mean actually that they are noticing? Because I think it's affecting everybody.
Yes, what I meant is it's affecting everybody, clearly, because they're going right through it, but 30% of people are being impacted on a health level by it, whether they know about it or not, and then 3% of that 30 are seriously being debilitated by it.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, sure, it affects everybody, but 30% having noticeable impact on their health. And it's going to go up as well, obviously, because the more exposure you get, the more electrosensitive you get. And also the amount of it is increasing. And there are less places you can go to escape from it as well. So, but you know what I'm like and my sort of focus. I'm very aware of the health effects, but I'm very, personally, I'm one of my big concerns is the way it affects our thinking and our imagination and our ability to imagine the lives we want and create our own lives, because that comes from the imagination, and it stands to reason that if we're electrical beings and our neural system is electrical, if we are in an alien electrical field, one that's not really natural for us to live in, it's going to affect the way we think and the way we feel and the way we use our imaginations. I like to think of things very kind of in simple, logical, rational, mechanistic ways, and things that just stand to reason, that are really obvious. We don't have to be bamboozled and be appealing to experts who produced papers. I don't mind. It's great if people do research and come up with papers that confirm a lot of things we've worked out already. That's very reassuring. But I like our arguments that really stand to reason. That this is part of the thing is to empower ourselves again. That we can trust our own judgment. We are the experts in our own lives.
So when you got one of these GeoCleanses, what did you notice?
Well, actually, I experienced it before one was in the house that I'm living in, and I didn't know anything about it, never heard of it. And this is a bizarre way it happened to me, is for a while, in the craziness that was 2016, which I think a lot of us experienced, at one point now I was actually living in an industrial unit. So that's another story. But I was astonished, because in this steel unit, this is amazing earth energies here. What's going on? This feels amazing. And I couldn't work, is it a local phenomenon? And that later on, I did actually find out that they had a GeoCleanse installed on the premises. But I didn't know about that. But I went after that. I went to stay in a house quite nearby, and when I walked through the door, I just felt like I was walking into nature. And I am super sensitive to these kind of energies, and I just felt like I was in nature, like the way I want to be. And I didn't know what to make of it. It must be another freak occurrence, And then I found out that the owner of the house had a GeoCleanse installed. And then I found out she'd already, that they did actually have one in the industrial unit I was staying in, and the pennies started to drop. And then shortly after that, back in my family home, there was they installed a smart meter sneakily without us realising, and it was in before we knew it. And I thought, oh no. So of course the first thing we did was call them to say, please remove this thing. But we had to wait for, I don't know, it was 2 or 3 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. Meanwhile, my younger daughter just couldn't sleep at night. So she had to go and stay somewhere else for a while. But while she was away, so I thought that's enough's enough, and we ordered the GeoCleanse, and things were beginning to clock. And I stayed in the house. I don't know why I did, but I stayed in spite of the smart meter. And I know they're very dangerous. And as soon as the smart meter arrived, and not the smart meter, the GeoCleanse arrived. As soon as I put it in the socket, that was the end of the problem. And she came back and she could sleep. Now, of course, we still didn't want the smart meter. And eventually we got rid of that, but we could all cope with the smart meter with the GeoCleanse there. And so for me, this is all just a practical exploration. And I have spoken to a lot of people who have had the same results with the GeoCleanse, life changing. Suddenly they're okay, even though that they may be in a city or built up area, and all these signals going on, and it all feels better again. So my evidence is anecdotal and from personal experience. But Gerard Bini, who makes these devices in Australia, I mean, obviously, I explained we're shipping them into this country so people can buy them direct in Britain without having to wait for them to come from Australia and go through customs and all this kind of stuff. But he has reports from kinesiology testing and Kirlian photography, and that's the evidence he uses.
Right, very interesting. And have you so far seen anybody actually having any sort of recovery from an illness?
Monitoring that. I mean, it's kind of early days right now, and I'm still building a kind of, in quotes, database of people who got them and their experiences. But we do need this. This would be really, really interesting to see.
I was up in London last week, and I connected my computer online, and I was shocked. There were at least 100 Wi-Fi signals being received in this house, and I don't think that's a very safe situation at all. I feel uncomfortable in cities, not having lived in one for ages.
Yeah, you know what though? It was so. I did the interview with Gerard, which I sent to you, and I learned a lot of things from him that completely made sense to me. And although we have got this major problem, there's no doubt this is a major problem with EMF right now. But he pointed out that it's not just these artificial devices. He said, and this made complete sense to me, that one of the biggest problematic sources of EMF is actually us, not our devices, it's us. Because traumatized humans leave this electromagnetic residue that continues to affect people after they've left. And so, for example, if you're a house where there's been deaths or there's been trauma, you pick up on it. And he pointed out, this made sense to me because, for example, London, I really struggle with it. It just feels like so awful to me for me to be in London. And yet I can go to much bigger cities than London, much busier, bigger cities, and be fine. And I thought, what's going on there? It's a lot of this trauma is from the Second World War still, because of the Blitz and all this kind of stuff. Terrible fear in London at that time. And what I'm really excited about, amongst other things, is if people start to use these geocleansers. In Australia, they're starting to see this, according to Gerard. We could see areas cleaned of this. London could be clean. It could be healed of the trauma of the Second World War. And it's not necessarily about going through complex psychotherapy. It's just changing the electromagnetics, and people change.
The first time I really noticed what you were just saying about was in France. I suddenly was aware of a terrible feeling, just terrible, and I realised that I was in a battle area from World War One, and it was very oppressive, very palpable. I'd never thought before that time that such a thing would exist. That the memory.
I feel like there's weird energies in France too, and I've never researched where just gone through an area and thought, I've never really had taken the time to investigate. But there is so much trauma in Europe from these two wars, and of course this is now going on in the Middle East and various other places. There's so many areas of the world that have been traumatized in this way. And there's a persecution of indigenous people, all kinds of things. But we can make things a lot simpler, and we can just clean this up electromagnetically.
And so, if somebody wanted one for their home, how much does one cost?
It's £110.
Well, that's not the end of the world, I guess.
It's just the impact. What I am so confident about them that I'm saying to people, and it's not, no one's taken me up on this so far, but if after the end of a month they really don't feel that they're benefiting and they can get it back to me in perfect condition, I'll refund them. Because then it's a zero risk purchase. And this is the thing, in the present economic climate, people, they're really hanging on to their money in lots of ways. And because it clears your thinking. See, I'll give you an example of this kind of thing where it changes. But for me, it's like, because I find, we've got the GeoCleanse, so in the house I'm fine, yeah? But I still had an issue with going into the town. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but there's a lot of people like me, and you don't see them because they're hiding. And I still had an issue going to the town. But I've got the travel. I haven't actually. Can you just give me a second? I'll grab the travel one. It's actually in my bag, so I carry it everywhere. So this is a travel device. Yeah? And it just looks like a bit of plastic, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
But this does similar things to GeoCleanse, but it's not as powerful because it's not plugged into the socket, so it's not utilising the whole electrical system. Yeah. So I did show the GeoCleanse, didn't I? Yeah. So that's the GeoCleanse, and it just plugs in, and you can use it with adapters. But I've been walking around now with this in my bag all the time, and as a result of this, I freely go out into public and into the town, and as a result, I've already earned way over the cost of several GeoCleanses just because I feel I can go into the commercial world. And I think there's a lot of people like me. So this is the thing. This is the argument I wanted to make to people. I'm trying to work out how I can argue the cost, that you actually don't lose out financially. You can't lose with it, because if it does what we say it does, and especially if you have one of these as well, if they do what they say they do, you can get the money back just by a clearer head, feeling freer to operate, and all this kind of thing.
The travel one, how much is that one?
I think 33. Yeah, 33. But these are it's just like, I'm not really about products. That's not really what as you know, I'm not about products. I'm about helping people change their thinking and their lifestyles. And, my ultimate aim is not to be selling products, but it's about facilitating the way through while we find our way back to a natural lifestyle. And if you can't even, there's so many people don't even really want to go out into towns or into large crowds of people because of the energies they pick up. How are we going to change things while we're hiding? Do you see where I'm coming from? And
there are some other versions of it as well, aren't there?
Yeah. The mobile device one. So the point of these, like I say, is not just it protects you from the mobile, the frequencies coming from mobile mouse. It's actually protecting you from the frequencies of other people you're talking to. So like this is a bit grimy, but this is on my mobile. I've just tucked it into the.
Did you feel the difference when you put it
in? Yeah, it's like I can talk. I can be communicating with people all day and going about my business in the commercial world, and feel none the worse at the end of the day. And that's amazing to me. I don't think a lot of times people notice what energies they're picking up, but it's like when you have, for example, when you have a GeoCleanse in a house and you actually get the energy clear in the house, then you start to notice alien energies, foreign energies to you that aren't really right. And then you more and more, you just don't want them in your life anymore. You can identify them better. We're talking about psychopaths, recently, and you did that fabulous interview with Thomas Sheridan, where he defined what a psychopath is very clearly. Not necessarily violent, not necessarily criminals, but they are people who do not care about other people. They don't have the feelings that you and I have. And it's a huge percentage. It's actually, 4% we reckon, of the population? might be even some listening now, but but they just mimic other humans to try and pass as normal. But you when you start feeling their energy, you know who they are. Everything becomes so much clearer. Your thinking becomes, this is what I can't get over, is how much clearer your thinking becomes. I noticed a huge difference when I moved to eating a very high percentage of raw food, and I've seen this in people when they do that. But then you're eating all this raw food, but you're surrounded by this electromagnetic smog. You're in this kind of contradiction, and then we're starting to spread this natural energy field. So it's not so much that I'm promoting products. It's like the products are a way of promoting, the products are part of changing this energy field that's, that we're, into something that's more conducive to human activity. It's just part of the process.
Right, very good. And in case people haven't come across you before, can you just do a 1-minute mention about your book?
Yes, I will. Do you want me to show you the car harmonizer as well?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, let's finish
car harmonizer. This now is like you just put it into the the cigarette lighter or the charging socket in the car, and it works through all the mechanics of the car. It even works when the car's off. So it eliminates travel sickness. It makes so you're not tired. I used to use a zapper when I was driving, so I wasn't so tired. But I don't bother with that now because I've got this. So you stop feeling tired when you're driving. You're carrying this little bubble with you, so when you're going through towns or what have you, it protects the passengers, anybody who gets into your car, a little area around it. Another thing, the GeoCleanse, it actually affects the area. It's bigger than a house. It will affect a house and garden and beyond. So. Anyway, so that's most of the GeoCleanse devices. Yeah, about me. Oh, what do I research? Ultimate well-being. I live an experimental lifestyle and research ultimate well-being, and it was inspired. It inspired originally as a child when I noticed there's something really wrong with people. I wanted to find out what it was, and I was convinced it's something to do with the brain. And I eventually came across Tony Wright's work and his research and that's in his book, Return to the Brain of Eden. So I've researched and gone into so many things in all the decades. But to me, that was the thing that really explained it, that basically that we, because we've left our biological habitat, because like all animals, we have a biological habitat, and we've left our ideal biological habitat. So now we have a different biochemistry. So our DNA, although our DNA is basically mostly all right, it's read in an aberrant manner, and it's affected our digestive system, immune system, reproductive system, and our neural system. And our brain is now built, so we have a split brain situation because the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere are so different and they're incompatible, and the left hemisphere has vastly reduced function from what it could have. So we live in a split brain situation which we take for normal, but actually we're all just crazy. Which is not really that much news. I think that's kind of the words out, the world's gone mad. But the exciting thing about this is when you understand the mechanics of it, there's so many things. I've written a book called Food for Consciousness, which spells out the main things that we can do, the starting point for what we can do for putting it right in terms of our nutrition, the way we use our minds, calming the left hemisphere of the brain and stimulating the right hemisphere and all this kind of thing. It kind of lays out the groundwork.
Well, excellent. Just going back to the GeoCleanse for the car, it's interesting what you say about keeping people awake, because they say that probably more than half of all car accidents, people are falling asleep.
Yeah.
Which I can well believe.
Yeah. I hadn't even thought about it. It sounds stupid. I hadn't even thought about that aspect of it. I just feel so much more alert when I'm driving. And I was congratulating myself. Why am I so much more alert? But I think it's, I hadn't even thought. I just thought maybe I've just made more effort recently. I just know I feel better in the car, but I've not even thought about, the improvement in my driving.
Well, it's very interesting. I'm one of these people who has fallen asleep once when driving.
I've done it loads of times.
Oh, dear. Well,
I've many, many, many. It's a point, that I wouldn't drive late at night, and it's like a miracle I'm still alive. But
miracle with people coming the other way are still alive by the sound.
Well, exactly, but somehow it's all worked out. But this I don't get tired from driving now. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
I learned the lesson the hard way when I was about 17, and I'd been working catering at a pop festival, and I hadn't really slept for about 3 days. And I was driving back, and at that point, cars had wing mirrors on,
Yeah.
sticking off the wings. And I woke up when the wing mirrors snapped off as the car went under the tailboard of a lorry.
You survived.
I was absolutely fine.
Yeah.
So, so I haven't done that again. I've stayed awake now.
Yeah.
Seriously dodgy.
Yeah. I'd be just, as soon as I got on a car, after a certain amount of time, I just automatically feel sleepy. Yeah, but that's stopped now.
Well, very interesting. I'm sure a lot of people probably resonate with that.
Yeah, but these devices, they're not. The thing is, the main issue I've really got promoting these devices, it sounds like, oh, this is just like all the other stuff you hear about. They're really unusual. I mean, really, if people are interested after hearing this, they should see the interview on my YouTube channel with Gerard. And he, as the inventor, he goes more into it. But he's very mechanistic. He's very scientific. This is not some sort of new age woo-woo thing. It's well thought out, and they are unique. But what excites me about it is that when we start to experience a natural energy field again, we start to remember how we're supposed to feel.
And the car one, because I quite like to try that. How much does that one cost?
I think it's. Shall I double check?
Well, just roughly.
I think it's 39 or 40, something like that. Okay. Might be 36. I'm trying to remember that. Late 30s. Yeah.
Right, very good. And if they want your YouTube channel, is that Food for Consciousness or Holly
Page? Holly Page. Right. Yeah, just Holly Page.
And it's spelled Paige.
Yeah, there's tons of Holly Pages in the world.
Oh, I see.
So I'm trying to think. I'll have to give you the link.
Okay, well, I'll put it when I put the video up. I'll put the link in the description. Yeah. Well, very good. Thank you very much, Holly. That was very interesting. I look forward to trying one and see.
Well, when we do our events, I know we can do loads of events, but this event we're talking about in March on the 11th, we'll plug a geocleanse into the room.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, this is my thing. Wherever I go now, the geocleanse gets plugged in. Yeah.
Well, excellent. So for those who are listening, Holly and I are going to be doing a series of talks and workshops together. Mm. So if you come to those, you'll be able to experience the geocleanse and see how you feel. But we should do it like a double-blind thing where we don't tell them whether it's on or off, and get people to say whether they think it's on or off, and then switch it.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's start to get some
feedback. Go do some proper experiments. And
definitely.
Well, I like proof,
Yeah, I know. I can tell that.
So, I've got here an orgonite device which somebody gave me as a present.
Yeah.
And from an intellectual level, I don't see why it should work.
Yeah.
I personally feel absolutely zero from it.
Yeah.
People out there on the internet say they feel stuff from orgonite, but personally I don't.
No, I don't either. I'm saying even though I'm very sensitive, I'm sensitive to people and all sorts of kinds of stuff, but I feel nothing. I've got those devices. I think they're lovely, but I don't feel anything. I walk around with them. I've been walking around with those devices in my bag and so forth, and in my room and all kinds of stuff for years. And this is what I'm trying to get over. These devices are not that. This is something else. People notice things happen when these, No, it's not. I'm not going to diss devices like that because maybe they're doing great things. I don't know, but I don't feel anything, and they've never changed my life. But I'm not dissing them because it's not. How do I know? But it's like I don't know what work they might be doing subtly, but I've never felt anything either. We're not talking about that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, good. I'm glad to hear that because I've got a lump of shungite stuck on the back of my telephone.
Oh yeah, I've been doing all that sort of stuff.
But
I'm not a newbie to this game. I've had all these, bits of shungite, bits of orgonite, various things. Because I was concerned right from the beginning with mobiles. Always had strange cases and things stuck to things and bracelets. Goodness knows. And it all just felt the same to me. I never felt anything. But this is different, you know, it's really, really different. It took me a while before I used the mobile harmonizer, because I thought, well, you've got the car harmonizer and the geocleanse, so I'm going to trust it. It's going to. I mean, the mobile harmonizer is ridiculous. They're only 15 quid. But it's just listening to the interview I did with Gerard again, actually just when I was editing it, and him talking about, you know, the energy you pick up when you're talking to people and when you're on social media and stuff. And I know it affects me. I can feel really down and weird. So that, okay, I'll do it. I'll try it. I'll just see. And it's like I just feel immune to it now. It's like, oh, it just sort of neutralises it. And it's like, oh, it's just that. So that's why I don't even, it's just, and interestingly, I've not found myself so engaged with social media. So presumably there's some kind of pull. We all kind of got these emotional addictions. And gradually, as you reset emotionally, and it's a chemical hit, you know, we all know this now. You get a chemical hit from certain emotional states. And as you reset that chemical state, you're not really pulled into them anymore. And I really feel it's not enough to change somebody in that regard, I don't think. But it supports it. It's part of the picture. You know, I mean, we've talked about this before. I won't go into it now, but there's some very definite strategies people can do to reset their emotional state and clear probably generations of trauma. But I feel that these devices support whatever you do to clear yourself, whatever technique, they support your environment, that you can move forward in an environment that's, you know, if you know what I'm saying. So because otherwise you just reset yourself emotionally and you're still in the same cultural trauma that you were in the first place. You still, you know, unless you completely relocate to some paradise island. And even then there might be something happen there. So, you know, there's so much has happened, you know, to humans on the planet. I think this is one of these things like raw food. It's like when raw food started, I could see the potential of it. I just knew it was going to become so huge, but it took time for people to realize. I think it's like that. This is going to be so huge, but it's just a certain number of people know about it so far.
Yeah, well, certainly the frequencies are really affecting people. I think you might have seen that film about the plasma TVs, that 3% of people are being damaged by plasma TVs.
Gerard says about it, he's more concerned about that than Wi-Fi, actually. He says that people don't realise they might not have them, but their neighbours will. Yeah. I don't know if we just talked about this before you started recording, but, you know, one of my big concerns is that, you know, as our neural systems are electrical, we're electrical beings, it's the impact on our imagination and our dream life. I didn't mention this, but something, you know, this is something that's on my mind because I'm very reliant on my dream life to inform me and guide me, you know, which I think is a natural human state. And then people are so upset because they're taking calm, you know, they're under the influence of governments and authorities that they don't agree with. But how else can you, if you don't connect to a bigger, greater source than that, what else would you do? Because I don't personally think we can run our own lives without the guidance of bigger forces than us. You know, I mean, this is a bit of a philosophical, spiritual question, but I don't think we're equipped as individuals to know exactly what to do. You know, unless you're a narcissist or megalomaniac. But that's another topic. But so unless you can connect to the source, you know, or as big a source than us, then you find yourself reliant on authority figures and concepts and stuff and laws and rules and all this. So it's a really big concern of me to be connected to the forces of nature to guide me. So that's on my mind a lot. And this is something I feel with having the geocleanse plugged in. I can actually I dream properly at night, and I wake up in the morning feeling inspired and knowing what to do. And I feel I've got my dream life back, and I've got my imagination back. And I think it's human imagination. This is one of the most important things we need to recover. Connected to the life force.
Well, it's interesting, the imagination, because it really is essentially our own personal private time machine. We can go into the future, experience all sorts of different versions of it, and see what we think.
Yeah, exactly. And otherwise, we're just like robots.
And most people don't engage their imagination because they wake up in the morning and turn the radio on or the TV on, and they block out any chance of any type of meditative state whatsoever all day long.
And it gives you back this bubble where you can have that back again. and you're just in that sort of, you're in your natural human frequency, the frequency of nature. And so, that's that's the level of it really excites me as much as anything.
Yeah, very interesting. It would be interesting another test I would find interesting would be to use it on children. Again, saying, okay, children, is it on or is it off? Because especially young children can be quite sensitive to how they feel.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know what? This leads to me to, this is one of my ultimate goals, is to start is a research project on human well-being, just on how we regain our sense of fantasticness of being human, and set up all the right environment and put all the things in place. An experiment. I mean, this could be part of it. It's a big project. These things are big. People say, why hasn't this been done? Because nobody's got round to it. Somebody's got to do it. So who's going to do it?
Well, quite. I mean, while we're on the subject of frequencies, I think it is worth reminding people who haven't clocked it yet that the people using those fluorescent light bulbs, the energy-saving light bulbs, are in real trouble because the frequency of the mercury inside them is not a healthy human frequency. And if they make the mistake of breaking one, then they've got a real biohazard in their house.
Yeah.
The instructions.
Sorry.
I'm going to say the instructions, if you break one of those energy-saving light bulbs, is to run like hell and not go back in your house for at least 48 hours until the mercury is settled.
Wow.
And if it's settled on the carpet, you want to very, very gently fold it up, put it in some mercury-proof container, and get somebody to safely dispose of it. That's just from one light bulb, and they're all those light bulbs being shoved in, land disposal, and they're all going into the water table.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the level of it. It reminded me, we were going to do a screen share, weren't we? I've got a picture of all the products. You sorted it?
Yeah, go on.
Have I done it? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, all right. So we've got some nice coloured jellies.
Yeah. So that's we've got in the middle. We've got the travel harmonizer. It's sold as an aircraft harmonizer because it's very useful on an aeroplane to deal with all those problematic things that everybody deals with on aeroplanes. And you've got the GeoCleanse, which I talked about. But the travel harmonizer, you can just take it with you anywhere. That's the one I'm walking around with. Car harmonizer, the water ionizer, which is useful for taking radiation out, the residue of radiation and food that's travelled, and it also energizes water. So we put it under I just put it under bottles of water, bottles of spring water. And the pendant, so it's a similar thing, and you can just walk around with it. I mean, instead of carrying the travel harmonizer, I could be wearing a pendant. I just choose not to. And then there's a mobile harmonizer and the wand, which is kind of a fun device. And apparently kinesiologists love it, and various practitioners use it. But I don't really, it's not something that I'm using so much. But I really like it. It feels really nice. But it's a useful therapist tool, apparently.
And what would they use it for?
I'm not sure. But it's just description on the site. I mean, I haven't even read everything about all these devices, but it can be used for rebalancing fields, energy fields in the body.
Right. Well, I'm very pleased that you're offering us a money back guarantee, because clearly, a lot of people are just not going to want to take the risk otherwise.
It's amazing how many people want them.
Oh, that's good.
I'm stunned. I'm really stunned. I think we've got a very good reputation amongst people who know about them. And I remember when I first put it up on Facebook, I was stunned by the number of people who chimed in and said, yes, these are the real deal, they really work. People I'd never heard of just appeared and said, yeah, I've encountered one of these.
Well, that's very interesting. I was thinking back about the plasma TVs, and as you probably saw from that film, there's this woman who's got all the symptoms like of Parkinson's, can't hold her hands still at all, and they take the plasma TV out of her house completely, and in 6 weeks her arms are steady again. I wonder whether people, particularly listening to this with Parkinson's or any neurological symptoms, really ought to try the room enhancer one, just in case it makes a big difference to them. I don't
Yeah,
know.
well, I really feel, because, it's just the big thing about buying something like, it's the risk. What if it is just like all these other devices we've all been told about all before and all been carrying around? It's yet another thing. So, yeah, I am offering that. Obviously, if they want the money back, it's got to come back to me totally usable in one piece with the packaging and everything, because I've got to protect myself. I don't think, I've had this offer up for a while. Nobody's returned one to me yet. But I just want people to know, it's just take the risk out of it, because I think once you got one, you wouldn't want to hand it back. But that's for people to judge for themselves. I want people to know, rather than thinking, oh, I'm not sure, is it one of these silly devices that don't make any difference? 2 years down, like, what? I found an email. I think it must be about 3 years ago, when I was going mental in a house. I had really bad energetics. And someone sent me an email. I was looking through my emails about GeoCleanse, and I found an email someone had told me, and it would have changed my life. Well, of course, my life would have changed if I'd known. But it wasn't necessarily, things have a way of turning out right for you. But at that moment, it would have made my life a lot easier. And it turned out, in the house where I was living, I had this confirmed by somebody else as well, that there's just this terrible geopathic stress, this energy line under the house. And Gerard did a reading for it, but at the time I had someone look at it, and they said there was an energy line under the house that's very problematic. And we're trying to put these different devices in to ameliorate it, but it didn't work. It didn't make it any better.
I see.
So I don't want other people to wait 3 years.
And my eyes are picking up that on the screen there with the GeoCleanse, it's plugged into some sort of foreign plug socket, presumably
Australian, probably.
So presumably the ones you've got come with an English.
Yeah, these are for UK sockets.
Yeah, perfect.
And if you want to travel with them, you just put them in a regular socket adapter. So if you get one and you go off to Europe, you just use your regular adapter, and that works fine. So you can take it with you on holiday and all this kind of thing. I would never dream of going. We've got a house one, but I've got my own personal one. I would never dream of going to stay anywhere without one. I just wouldn't. It's just so portable, isn't it? But yeah, you can just use it. Once you've got one, you can use it anywhere in the world along with other devices. Yeah.
So you can just walk around your little bubble of love.
Well, exactly. And there's quite a lot of us doing it now. We should have the GeoCleanse Club, really. I know there's a lot of us doing it. And then people want to get them for their relatives, their close their close family and everything. It's spreading. Yeah.
Well, very good. I look forward to trying one and experiencing it. So very good.
Well, when I come to see you, but you don't feel these things, Kyle, do you necessarily?
Well, I'm open to, just don't tell me if it's on or off, and have me guess.
Okay.
See what happens.
Yeah.
All right, I look forward to that.
Yes. Okay. Well, shall we wrap it up on?
Yeah.
Yeah. On that note.